Story 1. The Boy Who Talked to Shadows. When my daughter Emma was 7, she began talking about an imaginary friend, a boy named Thomas. At first, I thought it was cute. Kids often make up friends, right? But this one was different. Emma had full conversations with him, as if he were really there, even when I couldn't see him. She'd laugh, argue, and sometimes cry, acting like he was a real person. One evening, as I was tucking her into bed, I overheard Emma talking softly. Thinking it was just her imagination running wild, I decided to listen for a moment. "Thomas says you don't believe in him," she suddenly said, without looking at me. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't said a word to her about him. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just a phase. But things didn't get better, they got worse. Emma started drawing pictures of Thomas. They were strange, dark, shadowy figures with no faces, towering over her in strange and haunting poses. I found them everywhere, under my pillow, in the fridge, even taped to the bathroom mirror. One particular drawing stood out. It was of a tall, faceless figure standing in a corner with the words, "Thomas is always watching," scrawled beneath it. The strangest part came when Emma started sleepwalking. You'd find her standing in the hallway at odd hours of the night, staring at the wall, muttering to someone. One night, I followed her as she walked to the basement door. She opened it, descended the stairs, and kept muttering, "Thomas says it's time to go." I called out to her, but she didn't respond. The tension in the house grew unbearable. The unsettling feeling of something not quite right was suffocating. I packed up our things and moved us out of that house, hoping that the strange events would stop. Emma stopped talking about Thomas, but the house we moved to felt different. It was quieter, calmer, but sometimes when the lights flicker or when I walk past the corner of the room, I feel like someone is watching me. I catch Emma looking into empty spaces, smiling as if she's sharing a secret with someone or something that I will never understand. Story 2. The sleepover that never ended. My son, Jake, has always been a social butterfly. He'd make friends wherever he went, so when he asked if he could have a sleepover with his new friend, Lucas, I didn't hesitate. Lucas seemed like a normal boy, quiet, polite, but there was something a little off about him. He would always stare at you, unblinking, as if trying to see something deep inside you. The sleepover started off just like any other. The boys played video games, ate pizza, and joked around. But around midnight, I heard soft whispering coming from Jake's room. It was unusual, so I got up to check on them. When I opened the door, the temperature in the room dropped. I could see my breath in the cold air. Lucas was sitting on the floor, staring at the wall, while Jake sat across from him, mimicking his every movement. Neither of them noticed me standing there, watching them. The next morning, Jake wasn't the same. He refused to make eye contact with me. And when I asked him about the night before, he kept repeating one sentence over and over. "Lucas says we're the same now." My heart sank. I called Lucas' parents to check in, but the number had been disconnected. When I visited their house, it was empty, abandoned, like no one had lived there for years. Jake's behavior grew even more concerning. He would spend hours in his room talking to someone I couldn't see. Sometimes I would hear two distinct voices, a child's voice and an older, more commanding one. Late at night, I would hear Jake laugh, but it wasn't the laugh I knew. It was cold, unsettling, like someone or something was enjoying a joke at my expense. A few weeks later, Jake casually asked, "Why can't you see him, Mom?" "Lucas says you're scared." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. I tried to reassure him, but the eerie sensation that something was watching me never left. Sometimes I can hear whispering in the walls or see a dark shadow passing through the corner of my vision. It's as though Lucas is still here, still part of our lives, and Jake is changing in ways I can't understand. Story 3. The girl who knew my secrets. My youngest daughter, Lily, has always been exceptionally perceptive. She could sense things that most children wouldn't, like the way I'd tense up when my ex-husband would call, or the way I would carefully hide my medication deep in the back of the cabinet. But it wasn't until she turned 6 that I realized just how deeply she could sense things. One afternoon, Lily looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, why do you cry in the shower every night?" I froze. I had been crying in the shower, but I always made sure no one could hear. I hadn't even realized Lily could be aware of it. When I asked her how she knew, she just shrugged and said, "The lady in my room told me." I didn't know what to think. I had never heard her talk about any lady before. That night, as I stood in the hallway, I heard her talking to someone in her room. I crept closer to listen, my heart pounding in my chest. "Why does Mommy hate herself?" Lily asked. There was a brief pause, and then she added, "Oh, that's sad." I rushed into her room, but she was alone. Lily looked up at me, wide-eyed, and said, "The lady says you should forgive yourself." Those words echoed in my mind for days. I didn't sleep at all that night, wondering who this mysterious lady was and what she had to do with my own struggles. The next morning, I discovered a photograph on the kitchen counter, a picture of my late mother, one I hadn't seen in years. I hadn't taken it out of its frame for ages, and I had no idea how it ended up there. When I asked Lily about it, she said, "The lady wanted you to see it. She says she's sorry." That night, I heard her voice again, but this time, it was different. It wasn't just Lily talking. I heard another voice, a low, gravelly tone, almost too soft to hear. It seemed to whisper in the dark, "She's here." Lily smiled and whispered back, "She says you don't have to be afraid anymore." The sensation of being watched grew even stronger. Late at night, when I would pass Lily's room, I could hear quiet whispers, soft, indistinguishable murmurs. The air around me grew colder, as if something unseen was waiting just beyond the doorway. The feeling never went away. These stories are not just about eerie encounters. They are about the feeling of being watched, the sensation that something unseen is silently influencing the lives of those we love. When these strange events happen, they raise questions. Is it possible for something beyond our understanding to reach out? Are we truly ever alone? It's hard to shake the feeling that these mysterious forces, whether shadows, whispers, or spirits, are still here, lingering just out of sight, waiting for us to listen. And sometimes, once we hear them, there's no going back.